Hey guys, welcome to the 5 p.m. seminar here at the Northwest Pinball and Arcade Show. My name is Chase Nunes. I'm the host here at the Geek Gamer TV stage. You guys having a good day so far? Yeah. Some great machines out there on the floor. I know there's a Venom out there. Also, there's a lot of John Wicks as well. But you're not here for John Wick. You're here for Venom. I want to give you guys a couple of programming notes. First off, if you have any questions during this seminar, hold them to the end. And then when they are ready for them, go over here to this side, to the microphone, and get in line, and we'll take your questions. But without further ado, if you're looking to hear about how they made this awesome game here, Venom, here's Dwight Sullivan, Brian Eddy, and Jerry Thompson.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Wait, Elliot's here.
Look at, where's Elliot?
Look, he's right there.
Oh. All right. Come on up, Elliot.
The designer of John Wick, everybody.
It's right there, right there.
Right there he is. Yeah. All right, cool.
All right, we're ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, we're ready. I'm Brian Eddy, just to clarify. Dwight Sullivan. Jerry Thompson. And we're here to talk about Venom. This is my first time to Northwest, courtesy of Jerry, which is really awesome. We just got a chance to look around for about an hour.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Yeah, it looks like a great show. I can't wait to get in there and play more games. But today we're here to talk about Venom and how we made Venom. And this is 3 of the design teams, so you get some insight from all of us. All right, let's start it up.
Yep. Yulia.
This one? Is it changing?
We don't have any audio for the laptop, so you'll have to continue.
Okay. That's fine. Till we get... There we go.
All right. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is interactive. If you guys have any questions as we go along, just shout them out, raise your hand and stuff. We're happy to answer anything.
Yeah, don't listen to this guy that was talking a minute ago. Ask your questions anytime you want to.
We take any questions anytime. Yeah. Okay, so in pinball, there's a core design team, I would say, and a lot of the people are right here. So it's me, it's Dwight. There's an artist, Jeremy. You can see I got some pictures of everybody up there.
Yeah, he's in the bottom right there.
He's in the bottom right, Jeremy.
Yeah.
You guys probably know Zombie Eddy.
Yeah, Zombie Eddy.
Yeah, it's the best picture I could find of him.
But that's what he looks like.
It does pretty much look like him. Yeah, it's pretty good. And then there's mechanical design. We had 2 mechanical guys on this. Kevin, who was awesome. This was his first game, and he did an amazing job. And then we have Jerry right here. Always does an incredible job on the audio.
Yeah, Jerry and I have been working together since, well, you say Game of Thrones. I say Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters was the first.
Was the first complete game, but
right.
Yeah, Jerry's been my sound guy for every single game I've done since Game of Thrones and Ghostbusters.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a reason you keep using Jerry.
He's
amazing.
cheap.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Okay, he's cheap and amazing. He's a great combination. And then there's Paul, who's the lead video artist, and
Paul.
It's a lot of behind the scenes on that.
Yeah, so so since we went to the LCD screen, we now gain a huge AV department. And it's not like the olden days when it was just dots and it was just one guy, and I would get up from my desk and I would go talk to that guy and I'd be like, hey, this is what I need, blah, 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 blah. And then he would make it and I would be writing code and then he would say, I'm all done, what do you need next? Now we have a whole team of people. So Paul's the counterpart to me. He's the lead over all of the artists.
And there's a whole bunch of artists. It's not just Paul. So.
Yeah.
So and that's a good lead-in right here. So there's a huge support staff at Sturm to make all these games too. I mean, that's what I would consider the core team. We're the ones who meet almost every day and talk through things and design things and come up with things. But people to make it happen, it's a huge team. I'm probably missing some of these, but
yeah. So just to go back for a second. So Brian and I have been doing this since like 1989. Right? So that's why I mean back in the olden days.
That's olden days.
100 years ago.
Yeah, segment displays.
Yeah. All right, so keep going. Right. Brian actually was older than me in that regard. He's for 6 months.
But not in age.
But not
much
in age.
younger
No,
than
shut up.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so where does it start? I think every designer and design team kind of do it a little bit differently. So this is just how I do it and we do it and how we come up with a game. So I always I start with a blank play field. We'll get a license or define whatever the theme is. And then I start by kind of laying out what are the cool key things from whatever license we're doing, whether it's original or it's a license. What are the cool elements? What are fans going to really like? And I start with those elements and try to piece together toys and interesting things, and then build the shots and the play fields around it.
Yeah. So I'm working on Mandalorian now, and Brian goes into his sub basement of his house and like doesn't come out for days.
And then poof, there's something. It's not quite that easy, but. So it's again, that's just the playfield part too. So there's a whole big game behind this, and so right at the beginning, Dwight and I will start just ideating on stuff. And this is our very first whiteboard.
Yeah, we
just scribbling ideas.
Yep. So we recently learned from Marvel, like what are we allowed to have? What are we allowed to put in the game? And we just started writing it all down on the board with very loose scaffolding of ideas. I can't read that.
Yeah, well, you can see some of them. Remember Noel and
it's
Dragon.
Yep. So you can see there in the middle. How many people have played Venom?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
good.
All right, good. So you guys have heard of Noel, right? Because if you haven't played Venom, you haven't heard of Noel. But you can see there, the beginnings of ideas that that eventually stay in the game forever.
Yeah, and this was before we had a play field, before we had anything. We're just, hey, these are the characters we got from Marvel. How can we use them? How can we break them up?
Yeah.
And you can see some of the stuff actually kind of stayed in the end.
What's in the top right corner there? In my mind's eye, it's
Captain America.
Yep.
Spidey.
So that was something that came from Marvel. Marvel said you can use all these people, and we originally had Captain America as a team-up character. But then we learned, well, we can't have Captain America and Wolverine and Hulk unless they were Venomized. So then we created the whole Venomized thing. And that's when Captain America had to move out of the team-up people and into the Venomized people.
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth with the licensor on what we have rights to, what we can use, and we kind of pull it all together and try to figure out what's the best place to put everything. And we had a lot of characters in this game, which was awesome.
Yep. Yeah. The entire it's very interesting how Marvel does that. They have like you pick a character and then they have a whole universe of characters that go with that, and then you get that and you don't get anything else.
Yeah, I think it was 21 characters. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so then now that we've had some talks, we kind of picked some of the important parts of it. I start playing with playfield concepts. So this is actually an AutoCAD. This is where I start. I start laying out shots and ideas of, what do we want on the playfield. But this is still pretty early on. But this is the start of what will become a playfield. So as I mentioned, I start thinking about the toys first. What's going to kind of be interesting to this game, unique and different, and that pulls from the license. Hopefully people haven't seen before, something different.
Yeah.
So here you can kind of see some of the original concepts, and not everything makes it into the game. I think that's a surprising thing for most people. A lot of the stuff we'll try and we won't like it, or it mechanically won't be sound, or it just isn't fun. Right?
Yep. So like that wheel, for example.
Yep, so like the wheel. So like the first one on the upper left, that's the fast lock. Those made it into the game. They worked beautifully, exactly as we had hoped, and mechanically everything worked out great. On the upper right-hand side, we had this great wheel, this big spinning wheel that was right in the middle of the right side.
It's a cool Brian Eddy idea.
It had 3 different concentric circles and different
it's like
awards.
3 features in one. Each different feature is a concentric circle, and depending on what you got going on, you might, depends on which one you're using.
It spun, obviously, physically spun.
Yeah.
So
where it stops, nobody knows.
that's right. We had lots of ideas for that, but in the end, it was a lot of lights. And yep. No, it was just on top, and so we used it. The plan was to use it in different modes, to where different things would happen depending on what you were doing.
It was part of battle.
Spinning.
It was part of mystery. It was part of other things.
Yep. And then on the bottom here, you can see that actually made it into the game.
Yeah, but only with one sculpt.
Only with one sculpt. Yep.
So let's go back a second too. So early on, Brian and I decided that. So I always knew, because I like to do this, right? If you know anything about my games, I always like when you walk up to the game, you can choose. You can choose what turtle you're going to play, what house you're going to do in Game of Thrones, what character you're going to play in Star Wars. So in this game, it was really obvious. It was which host you're going to pick. But then Brian and I decided to lean into the whole change the host thing, and I hate that phrase.
Oh, you love it. Come on.
I don't. But
choose your host.
Yeah, but so then that's when
your
Brian.
hand,
What? Go ahead, Jerry. Say it, Jerry.
have to do this. Choose your host. Change the game.
He is the voice of it.
Right. So Brian sort of took that to heart and leaned into it. And then some of the toys you see here, like on the top right corner on the left-hand playfield there, is well, you're going to get into that in a second?
That's the next one.
All right. That's part of the. We wanted the game to change in every way possible, and Brian made that happen.
Yeah. So this is Carnage, and the Carnage mech made it into the game, but not quite like this. The original idea is that you would hit him, and eventually you'd hit him so far back you'd fall over, so defeating him, right? But mechanically that ended up being really complicated. It probably wouldn't have been reliable, so we just kind of pushed him back in the Ravencroft, and I think that worked just as well, and was simpler and more reliable for players.
And we had an idea for a door that you'll see in a minute.
Yep. So this is probably one of the biggest changes too. So the whole right-hand side of the playfield, where you have the moving scoop and the little up-down ramp on the premium playfield in LE, that started out as a wheel, and as the wheel rotated, different shots would be created. So you'd have ones that passed through, ones that went up a ramp, ones that went down. So that concept was there, but mechanically, when we tried to put something like that together, there were all sorts of problems that were a little bit insurmountable. Like, how do you level that whole thing to the playfield and make sure everything's smooth? So the mechanical guys, decided, hey, can we do this in a different way? So we came up with the big moving scoop and the little up-down ramp. And I think in the end, we kept pretty much all the patterns that we had there.
And maybe even a couple more.
Yeah, maybe even a couple more.
But that's what Brian made in the depths of his sub-basement in those days when
it's beautiful, isn't it?
And he, then he brings it to work and says, check this out, Dwight. And it was cool. It was very cool.
But it didn't make it. But it did in the end, conceptually, it still made it. So now we have some toys that we're talking about back and forth, and we're starting to play with some ideas that come out. So we start really high-level rule design. And this is one of the very early printouts of the playfield. This is probably Dwight scribbling.
Can you guys see that? It's really light. Okay.
It's really light, yeah. You can see some of the inserts are starting to take place, and we got names scribbled on them, and you can see some of the Carnage there on the playfield. So this is just us throwing stuff out on the playfield and saying, well, hey, what could we make the game do?
Yeah, and this is where we're wanting to take a departure from the basic mode-based game, and we are deciding that how we're trying to figure out how this grid works in the middle, and we kind of liked the way it looked, and we had ideas for what it could do, but it's still very fuzzy, and we're thinking about how does it work and what does it mean, and we sort of nail it down a little bit later. On the right, do they see the screen on the right?
No, just this one.
All right, okay. Spoiler alert.
There you go. Yeah, Dwight's a step ahead of you. He always is. But, so this is Dwight.
Yeah, this is so again, change the game, change the host. I'm trying to figure out now. Well, all of the rules have to change, and the physically, like to accomplish the same goals, depending on which host you pick, you're going to make different shots. And this is me taking the drawing and trying to figure out, what means what. And those drawings helped a little bit.
They got the idea going.
Honest. They did.
I think only you understood them, but
no, but I was the only one that needed to.
Right, and
yeah. So then this is a better. So we along the way we learned that about this really cool program. I'm going to shameless plug here. Lucid Spark Whiteboard is a really cool way to collaborate and just have a whiteboard, a virtual whiteboard. So this is me more. More nailing down exactly what's going to happen, which hosts are going to do what, and how it's all going to break down, and because we want every host to be different, yet it all still has to funnel back into you're playing the same game and you're still working your way toward beating the final boss.
But you do change the game when you.
Is that how it goes?
Choose your host. Yeah.
Jerry, you want to do it again?
Choose your host. Change the game.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, so now we've got ideas out there and stuff. We start pulling in the artist, and he starts working on concepts for the cabinet and backlash.
Jeremy.
Yep. So Jeremy, Zombie Eddy, as a lot of people know him. Incredible artist. Did an incredible job on this game. I think it's one of his most beautiful games.
Yeah, it is.
He's well tuned into the Marvel world and just does an amazing job. But these are early on pencil sketches that he starts with. And then he starts playing with color and layout just to get a feel for what it's going to present as. And we start breaking them into models too, because we know we're going to have a Pro, a Premium, and LE, and he's doing different packages for all of them to make them all exciting and interesting in different ways.
Yep.
There's the Premium. Just a pencil sketch, and then you can see it's starting to come together now. These weren't final, but he's adding color now. And then the LE package, which is my favorite package.
Yeah. They all look great, though.
Yeah,
really
they all
killed
look
it.
great. It's hard to choose one that's...
The LE is stunning.
Yeah.
So let me pose a question to you. A lot of times people ask me how long it takes to make a game, and my part is minimum a year, year and a half. So how long do you guys start thinking about this and putting these rules together and you drawing before Jeremy gets involved or before I get involved?
That's a great question.
Good question. It does vary.
Yeah, it varies, but we should add that to this.
So what's the answer?
So back when
6
we had that
months, maybe?
whiteboard, how long is that? That's like a year before we
Wow.
went in production.
Yeah. Well before. I mean, I think the whole process of Venom, because it happened in a time with COVID and stuff a little bit.
Right.
It was probably a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is usually it's around 14 months, 15 months. You know, we're trying to give more time because the games keep getting more complex and we want more depth in them. We want to keep them interesting for long terms of play. So
Right.
I think you'll see more and more of that.
At the studio, we have about 5 teams currently working,
Right.
like at different phases of development.
Plus there's
So,
other
like,
things.
so there's like John Wick, who just came out, right? And that's like poof, and then games that are just barely getting started,
Yeah, and then we do other
everything-
packages
everything
too,
in between.
right? We'll do some games with new art packages and stuff like that along the lines too. But as far as big teams, yeah, it's
Yeah.
4 or 5 teams going at once.
While you're working on Venom, are you also doing something else on one of the other games? Or are you guys just now focused?
Hopefully we're focused on one,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
sometimes we
I-
overlap between games.
I am
You are,
usually.
yeah.
I'm 2 or 3 at a time sometimes, but yeah, the software and the
Well, like-
the
Yeah. Go ahead.
is usually on it until it's done.
Correct, but like right now, Venom is still under development, and I'm overseeing it. But I'm like up to my eyeballs in my next game,
Yep.
and I have been for a while now. So
There's always some overlap between
Yeah.
the two, because we're still finishing off sometimes accessories and other things.
yeah, but like Corey, if you guys know Corey, and my son David are both working on Venom as we speak.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Question? Yep.
So are there games that get really far along in the process?
Most of the time, not.
No, it's rare.
Yeah.
It's rare because we have relationships with the licensor and stuff too, so we're all committed to making sure that we make this.
George has good stories. When you go see a George seminar,
Yes.
and he has good stories about that.
Yeah.
So when you design, do you design the premium and figure out what toys and features you want? And then when you go, you got basically accounting or George or whoever said, no, that's too expensive. Pro, so he starts deleting things or?
Yeah, we do generally start with the premium, right? Because that has all the toys and everything that we can possibly include in it for the bill of materials that we're trying to hit. And then we decide, and it's back and forth on what to take out.
Yeah.
Because we still want to keep the flavor of the game. We still want to keep the main modes and everything.
And yeah, so a lot of that pre-production work that we do, it's just ideas that we have. We throw things on the whiteboard and so forth, but it's not until you're actually flipping the game and you're flipping the toys and you're seeing, wow, that's way more fun than I thought, and this is not nearly as fun as I thought. And then that changes your mind on what should stay on the Pro and what should not. Like the fast locks
Right.
came late. The fast locks were just going to be locks. They were just going to be generic locks. And then we started working on them really hard. It was actually a lot of work to make those fast locks do what they do. And we're like, well, that has to be in the Pro.
Thank you, Corey.
Yeah. So Corey spent months making those fast locks work. And so that weighed heavily on what was going to be on the Pro.
Yeah, we weren't sure that they were going to work either during
Right.
a lot of development.
Right. Yeah, I was ready to pull the plug several times.
Yeah. And I think they're one of the unique features, definitely in the feel of playing
Yeah,
Venom, that
yeah.
speed, which is what we wanted, right? It's Venom, fast speed, that's what you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to this. So this is the play field. This is Zombie Eddy starting on laying out the play field. And by this point, we already know some of the rules. They may not be all completely tied down, but we have a good idea of what we're doing so that he knows what to draw and what themes to put where. And what are we showing?
Oh,
that's not us. Okay,
Yeah,
there we
those
go.
guys in the back.
oh yeah.
All right. Oh, this is because of questions. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Okay. So there's the playfield. Thank you. And then Jeremy will continue to develop the playfield. He put this together, which is really cool. It's like a time lapse of him working through the layers of how he does a playfield. And I thought this was really cool. You can see him starting with the pencil sketch of just the characters around, adding the detail of the shots, and then starting with color and detail and with the color.
Can you talk a little bit about the interaction between, because obviously there's a clear play field between plan and two dimensions, size, shape. So how do you get him, like you know that in advance, but he has to draw to that essentially. So can you talk about that process?
Right, right. Yeah, well, we have a whole playfield layout, and we will give him where everything is at, right? All the ramps and the shots and the inserts.
And we're flipping the game
Yep.
before this begins. We're flipping the game, and we have a great understanding of at least the skeleton of the rules and a lot of the foundations. And we have lots of meetings. He comes to work, and we go, hey, this should be this, and this should be that, and this is that. And then he goes off and does stuff, and then there's iterations.
This looks like a technical, like he knows exactly where things need to fall, so you guys have already planned out exactly how big it's going to be.
By this stage, yeah, by the time he gets to like color and stuff, where he'll do a pencil sketch, and that could be there for a month or two before he moves to color as we're developing the rest of the game, and he's working on other things. So this evolves over time as we learn more, and sometimes we'll start putting a section together and change our minds, and then he'll have to rework it. He does, yeah. If you know Jeremy,
Yeah.
he cries.
And he's just
He's a crier. There's a lot of times we'll just tell Jerry, hey, we don't know what we want there. Do something cool, and then he does.
Well, like
It's awesome.
like the joke for Spider-Man, that stayed right up to the last second. He had like 5 or 6 different drafts of that. So details, small little details like that are constantly changing. But the big picture stuff, he's there making it all happen.
Yeah, because for us on the design side too, we want to make sure that the rules are clear and the shots that you're supposed to make when you're supposed to make them are clear too. So the playfield is probably the biggest connection with all of us and working on the team, because it has to convey all that information.
Like the text on the inserts can change almost right up to the last second.
Yeah.
So we often leave that, of course, to the last second, and we, then we're like, hey, I changed my mind. Instead of calling this, whatever, we're going to call it XYZ. Well, no. That's the text is usually done by like our in-house layout people.
That
Jeremy,
thankfully is the easy part.
Yeah, Jeremy doesn't work on that.
And this is a little misleading because this is the playfield going over through its stages throughout the whole project, right? And I'm still kind of at the beginning of development here. Because we haven't even built a playfield yet in this real story, so
Right.
we just have all the concept ideas, and we got shots, and we got some toys, and some basic rules started. So now we build a playfield. So my AutoCAD drawing gets turned into a SolidWorks drawing, which is a 3D engineering package that we use to create games, which you can see on the left side. That's the start of it. Very basic to start with, right? We're just trying to get the shots in. You can still see the wheel there, the big wheels on the right, and the big rotating sign is still there in the middle.
It has 24 lights. It had 3 rows of 8.
Yeah.
3 rows of 8 wedges.
That's still there. You can see Doppelganger over on the right there, but at that point, Doppelganger was just a straight targets that went up and down.
Yeah.
It didn't swing out like it does in the end game. And that's one of the things we learned when we put this together. Here's some closer up shots. So this is this is what we call the first whitewood. We were still expecting a wheel there on the right-hand side, so we didn't have the mech, so we just covered up the shots so that we could flip it and just get a feel for what shots are fun, what ones are easy, what do we want to tie to what. And then we start diving a little deper into the rules.
Yep. This is
spreadsheets. Dwight loves spreadsheets.
I do. I love spreadsheets. Yeah. This is a big part. One of them. So by night, I write code. I write software. But one of the things I really love to do is develop games. Develop all of the rules for the games and whatever. And it's very collaborative. But I often like to lay things out in spreadsheets, and you guys don't need to read any of that. But again, you can see that's just me trying to break down how are all the different hosts going to do different things.
So basically, Dwight spends all during the day making spreadsheets, and then he programs at night.
Yeah. I don't sleep. Oh, so this is me doing artwork.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that great?
This is why Dwight programs.
So you're gonna see the final art later, and you'll see just how close my artwork looks to the final art that you'll see in a few minutes. Yeah. But basically, this is me storyboarding what the character selection is gonna look like, so that I can explain it to the artist. Like, this is the original character select for Venom, and like, I just, like, this is where the scores are going to go. In case you didn't know, scores should be on the bottom. They should take up the entire width all the way across. Like, if I didn't draw that, they would put stuff down there.
I haven't seen this before, so nice work.
All right, yeah, thanks. Well, you'll see in a minute.
I'd like to buy the original.
In a minute, you're all right. I can sign that for you if you want.
I think that's right in the center, isn't it? Or is that Lasher? I can't tell.
No, it's Eddy. It's Venom.
Oh,
this is the character select. Those aren't bad guys. And then, did they see the thing on the right?
Yes, they see.
So
this.
that's me. So the mini games were going to be 30 different sets of rules, and I was originally going down a path where it would like all of them would be different slightly, and then I played that, I coded it up and I played it, and it was horrible, it was stupid, and then I changed it to they're all the same, and that became because there's this learning curve there, there's this there's a hurdle that you have to cross, and as soon as you cross it, you get it, and we needed that rule to be the same for all of the hosts, because so many other things are changing for host. So we wanted, like, how you progressed in the game for each host on the grid to be the same. Go ahead. Can you go to the mic? All right.
When you chose which abilities would go to which host, did you decide based more on what matched the character or what would go well together?
Great question. So, I'm a Spider-Man fan. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. So I leaned on building cool stuff, at least the cool stuff in my head, on Peter Parker. And then I'm like, well, these all need to be kind of balanced. So then I'm trying to figure out, well, each host needs good things and bad things about them, so that it makes it difficult for people to pick which one's which. So a lot of that stuff in that grid, or either the whiteboard or the spreadsheet, was me going, how's that look? This guy's too strong, right? And then until I liked it, until I thought it felt balanced. So feeling balanced was the driving force there.
Great, thank you.
All right.
And the default character, we did tend to make a little easier for multi-balls, because that's what people like.
No, that's Eddy. Brian's completely
Brock.
right. So we decided Eddy was going to be the main multi-ball, because most people are just going to walk up to the game, push start, and punch the ball. They get Eddy. Eddy needs to be simple and obvious and understandable, and you just easily stumble into multi-ball. And so that was part of the factor as well.
And our hope was, as people played more, they would discover the other characters and decide different strategies for different characters, because the shot patterns changed along with the rules, and people would find their favorite.
Yeah.
But they would get pulled in by Eddy Brock, the first character.
Yeah.
Insider Connected. So this was a big one for us too, because Dwight and I are a huge supporter of Insider Connected, because we just think it can expand what pinball is and bring a lot more interesting things to the game. And
So first and foremost, we wanted to make a game that was fun without Insider Connected.
Right, that's true too.
Yep.
Yeah, we got to make sure that, and we're really conscious of this as we're developing, is that we want to make sure the game can be really fun for somebody to sit down. For the really good players who can play 45 minutes on a whole game, they got to be able to get through a fun game too.
Yep.
Along with people on Insider Connected.
But then even from the beginning, we decided that we wanted to make a game. We wanted to make a game where, the pinball enthusiast, I'm going to say dad. So the dad brings the game home, and the non-pinball enthusiasts in the family who want to support dad in his hobby can play with him. So we wanted to make a game where everybody could get to the end. Everybody could get to the final boss. Might take longer than the pinball enthusiasts in the family, but they all can get to the end and play and beat Null eventually. That was one of our goals.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest thing. Because in so many games, they have wizard modes that only the people who can play for 30, 45 minutes see. So we wanted everybody to get there eventually. And it may take, like you said, it may take 100, 200 games. But your character keeps getting stronger and stronger as you play. And eventually, you'll probably be able to beat Noel at the end.
And now like, so since Venom came out, we've seen dozens of stories. And my heart has swollen because we've succeeded. We've succeeded at just that. We get like emails of people saying, "Yeah, my son just beat Null, and it was just a great moment," and that's really cool.
I think it's even more special in a lot of ways because you'll play for months and then you finally beat him. Yeah. So it just feels really good.
And some people play for 30 minutes and then beat them. Right. But that's
not many.
But that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
So we had to work. So Insider Connected is coming along, and we're one of the first to sort of push it. So we kind of worked it backwards, right? We tried to reverse engineer. Well, if we want everyone to beat Null, well, what does that take, right? What does it mean? So we thought up, well, XP and levels, and the higher level you are, the more damage you can do to bosses. That was what we figured out, and
if you got strong enough, it would take less shots to finally beat.
Yep.
So we really leaned into this, and we like Insider Connect as a feature, so we're going to continue to expand upon it. But like Dwight said, we'll always make sure that a game not connected is still just as fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that was our first Whitewood. We're going to build another one. So this is a more refined version, right? We've made some decisions based on, playing that first playfield and thinking about some rules and finding what's fun. So you can see this one's a little bit different. The big wheel's gone, so now it's more similar on the right side to what we actually ended up making with the big rotating scoop and the up-down ramp on the right side. Doppelganger is still just an up-down doppelganger because we haven't figured out that he got in the way and you couldn't see anything. So he's still a simple up-down mech. But the wheel is still there, that big spinning wheel to 24 lights.
It keeps moving around, though.
It did move.
Yeah, Brian kept trying different places for it.
Yep. And you can even see it on the right-hand side. We built an actual second Whitewood with that light up there. Yeah.
It has all the shadow boxes for all 24 lights.
Yeah, it didn't fully work, I think, right? But lights worked.
Yeah.
But we were going down that road.
We would have made it work eventually. There's a better picture of it.
Yeah, and there's another small one there you can see on the left-hand side. That left ramp actually had an up-down ramp in it, too.
Yeah.
I forgot about that one.
And then there's a lockup in the back. Is there a lockup in the back on these pictures?
There is. Maybe on the next one we'll see that.
Okay.
I think that's...
Yeah, that the left ramp had an up-down ramp in the middle of it.
Yeah, there was actually 3 fast locks.
Yeah.
And this is the underside, so we call this a rat nest. Some of the games where we don't have lamp boards, we don't have an easy way to get all the inserts lit up. So we will take, though we won't personally, I think Dave in the build-up room and Jim and the guys. So
we just complain because it's not taking
right.
Too
We
long.
need a playfield. We got to flip it. They'll take individual lights and just wire every single one up individually.
It's brain surgery.
Yeah, it takes forever, but it gets us going and it gets us moving. Oh, here's the gates.
Yep. So Kevin had this idea, the mechanical engineer, of how to make it, since Carnage wasn't going to go off the back like Brian's original plan, how to make him just go through these gates, and the gates would close when he got to the back.
Yeah, so they're a little hard to see here, but they're clear gates on the right and left side, and as he gets pushed back, he pushes those gates closed. But in the end, it was kind of a noodly mechanical thing, and we didn't think it would last, and if it broke, that means he'd be stuck behind there, and that's a horrible thing to have.
Well, when we tested it, this is why we do tests.
Yep, and we tested it.
Yeah.
We'll get to that too. We'll show you a little of that. So this was our stand-in for Venom.
Well, that was Carnage. That was Carnage in the early years.
Yep, Carnage.
It's Carnage.
You gotta use what you have. Yeah. But there's the real one. So this is the real sculpt. This is just the grayscale sculpts, as we call them. So
of both Doppelganger and
Doppelganger and Carnage. Incredible detail on these, and we send these out. We get them decorated, and then all this stuff has to be approved by the licensor. They're very picky about making sure their characters look just like they're expecting. And this one was kind of hard. Like Doppelganger's in a pretty dynamic pose there too. So to make him look right, the sculptor did a great job. All right, this is your big moment coming up, Jerry. You ready?
Foreshadowing.
All right.
Dun, dun,
Here it
dun.
is. All right, so audio starts. So we start getting into the audio. We start making sounds. Well, Jerry, you've been making sounds for a while, probably, right? And music, he started. You could probably talk a little bit about the whole music thing, because that.
Right. So again,
crazy.
from the beginning, we wanted to. Jerry, you tell the story.
Well, Dwight called me and he said, "Do you know who Mark Tremonti is?" And I said, "Sure. I saw Creed back in the day. You know, Mark is the guitar player, co-songwriter for a lot of their hit songs." And he's like, he really wants to be in a pinball game. So he's written a shooter groove for us, and he offered us 14 tracks from his album if we wanted to use them in a pinball game.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's amazing. And he is the nicest guy.
Yeah.
If you ever have a chance to go see him.
And very talented.
Yeah, I mean.
Like he sings Frank Sinatra. Like,
Well.
Like
Very
really,
well.
really well. Like.
And he loves pinball. He absolutely loves
But
it.
just an unbelievably nice guy. And so he's like, yeah, I told my record company, I'll sign with you, but I want my music to be able to be used in a pinball game anytime I want.
Right.
And so then Dwight said, well, we have that, but I think, I'm thinking every character needs
So
to
this
have.
is at Expo. How many years ago?
When you first called me, it was like 4th of July, 2021.
Right. Okay.
And then, so then he said, each character is going to have different rules. I think they should probably have different styles of music. Is that okay?
Genres, different genres. Yeah.
And I was like, sure, because they have to have music anyway.
I'm quadrupling how much work Jerry.
Well, not really, though. No, I kind of did that to myself later, but I'll tell you that. So I was like, yeah, they have to have music anyway. So he's like, I'm thinking funky because I go to Chicago a lot and work in the office with him, and he plays Prince a lot. So he's like, I want one character to have Prince-like funky music, and that's Gwen in the game. And I
It
said,
morphed a little bit. It started off Prince, and
Yeah.
it turned into more 70s funk.
And I said, well, Peter Parker should probably be techno-style music. And he's like, well, we want to have...
Tremonti.
Yeah, for is Eddy. And then for Flash, like a military kind
Marching
of feel.
band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I was like, yeah, that's no problem. And then I started thinking about it. I thought, well, then they probably should all have different sound effects too. So I did that to myself. I said, should they all have different sounds? He goes, yeah, that's good. So
See, Dwight planned this all along. Jerry just fell right into it.
every character, every switch, every target, everything has a different sound,
a whole different sound package.
for whatever character you're playing, which I don't think had been done before.
No, and it turned out really, really well. Jerry worked hard, and it's really, really
And
pretty
cheap,
great.
don't forget.
Well, yeah. I'm hoping you forget. Your wife, who was flirting with me a minute ago, is now giving me the devil eyes.
So then Marvel, most games I get to participate in helping cast the voices and all that, but Marvel says, we'll take care of that, and they hand us off a voice package. They pick the actors and they record it, and this is my favorite Marvel game voice package of any of them we've done. I mean, they really have some great voice work in here.
Yeah, they did a great job. And we're always a little worried about that, because if we don't pick them directly, we're not sure if it's going to emote what we want in a pinball, but they nailed it. Yeah, they did a
And
great
Mark,
job.
if you're listening, man, we want to work with you again.
Speeches, writing the script is something we haven't really talked about either.
21 characters.
Yeah, 21 characters. So that was a huge task, too. And we want them all fun and interesting and a little bit different because they all have different personalities. So.
We're lucky. We work with many talented people at Stern.
Yeah.
Two of which I call the brothers Kizavat because they're brothers, and they very much knew they're very good at helping us write scripts. So we leaned into them, and like the five of us wrote 21 characters of scripts.
Well, and in Turtles that we did, Krang was one of the brothers, and
the brothers Kizavat.
and Shredder was one of them. I mean, they do lots of things.
Yeah, it's Mike Kizavat, who's a programmer. He's often on my programming team, and Tom Kizavat, who's an artist and often works like for Paul, on the art team.
So yeah, big script, and Dwight said, and I want to make them argue with each other.
Oh, right.
So he goes, I got to figure that out so that they'll interrupt each other. And I mean, so there's a lot of stuff in this game that really hadn't been done before.
The host we were talking about is Venom. We wanted as you were doing stuff, the Venom and the host would argue with each other about giving advice to the player about what to do next. Like shoot the left ramp. No, you idiot. Shoot the right ramp. You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And don't I make a great Venom? Huh?
He was not Venom. Okay, so let's move on. We had mentioned a little bit about testing, right? So we do test all these devices extensively. I mean, some of them up to 500,000 cycles, depending on how often it's used.
Yeah,
or more.
A lot of devices test until they break, which could take months, years.
It's a very noisy room.
It's a very noisy room. It's a test room with all different games in development, all doing this.
It's called the click bang room for a reason.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can see on the right side, right, we keep track of all the hits and any errors that happen.
Is that so? You can also see the doors
gates.
closing for Carnage.
Yep.
So those are the doors that before we decided not to use them anymore.
Yeah. All right. So display effects. So this is the video art.
Yep.
This
Paul.
starts.
Oh wait, you said
damn. Venom, we took a little bit different tactic then too, because we had all these different characters and we wanted to use them dynamically in all different poses on the screen and stuff. We actually 3D modeled all the characters, so that the artist could then place them in scenes at any angle with the camera in any way, versus just hand drawing every scene.
Yep.
And it worked out really well for the characters. Some of them in the universe, right, are similar with different skins and stuff. So they were able to get all of them, I think, built in 3D, and gave us a lot of flexibility on what we wanted to show on the screen.
And another important fact there is we wanted the LCD art to be like Jeremy's art. So Jeremy directed, or at least gave us sketches for all of the artists and how it would work and how they would look. So then there's us. Comparing our LCD Carnage to Jeremy's Carnage. We need
yeah, we wanted the game to cohesively all look the same, so that it all came from the same universe. And sometimes, you can't always do that with the disconnect.
You got like 10 people working on the LCD art. They all need a style to follow so that they all look the same.
Okay. So this is the interface. I think this is the first test of the interface that we had.
It was very exciting.
Yeah, this is the backdrop that you see when you first start a game.
All right, so that's my art, right? Can you guys tell the difference between what I drew earlier and this, right? Don't they look almost the same in your mind's eye?
Yeah.
Right, it looks the same to me.
I mean, look at the characters. They're almost identical.
Right.
I mean, they did add motion and some
animation.
No,
this is animated.
Yeah.
Mine wasn't animated.
Yeah.
Right, but you get it.
Yeah, it's close.
So everything we do in the game is storyboarded. We spend a lot of time storyboarding because, again, back in the olden days when we had dot matrix, we would, it was just like, hey, I just want this guy to come in and show up, and bam, the screen wipes and we see some text, and they would just get it done. But now there's a whole pipeline. There's all kinds of artists, and they all have different skill sets, and it's a pipeline. They call it a pipeline. So you got to get it. You got to get it right. So you have to storyboard everything first, so that each person in the pipeline can follow the storyboard and know what you're trying to communicate with each scene. And so this is some of our storyboards.
And once those videos get done, they come to me. Like if there's fighting or they jump on something, car crashes, then I put sound to all of that. So.
Jerry has to score every single scene.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll do animatics where we just piece together these different shots and make some. It's not final art. It's just get the pacing and the feel for it.
It gets it in the game, too, so that the programmers can put it in the game, and then later the artists can make it look good.
And then also, obviously, with licensors and stuff, they know what we're doing, and they can see a preview of it, too. So some of them like that. Some of them just allow us to do it. Okay, so now we're on our last chance to build a playfield. So this is our third whitewood. And if you look at this one, it's pretty close to what we made in the end. So the big round wheel with all the lights is gone. It's a billboard now. Still had a lot of lights on it, though.
8.
And all the devices are pretty much the way we expected. So even though you can't see it here, Doppelganger does swing out now because we determined he was just blocking too many shots.
I love that toy so much. It's so fun to shoot.
It's a very cool toy.
And it's a surprise, I think, the first time he jumps out at you, which is always cool. So now we even have a Carnage sculpt, so he's on there.
Go back one frame. To talk to this other person's question back here, right? So the Doppelganger is something that's not on the Pro. Right, so that was a hard choice, right? We have this really fun toy, but we decided that everybody playing a Pro is going to need the fast locks. So we took out the Doppelganger then instead.
Yeah, sometimes the gameplay drives what we want to keep too, so that we can keep the game somewhat similar.
Like this is a Pro over here; it does not have the Doppelganger.
Right. The rules just get more refined. Right now we have a final play field. The inserts are pretty locked in at this point, so we pretty much have to enumerate exactly what they do.
Yep.
There's still small changes in balancing and scoring and all that stuff that'll go on, but the architecture of the rules is pretty well set.
Yeah.
Which is this.
Yeah, so this is me back on my whiteboard laying out all of the rules in the game at a high level and trying to figure out, so this is making this right about now is when we figured out two things. This Clinton or multi-ball didn't exist. And we were like, well, where's all this going? Null, sure, the dad and the rest of the family, get to Null, but there needs to be something out there at even past Null that you cannot get to just from playing over and over again, picking up where you left off. So that's Clinton or multi-ball is this thing that you have to sort of play the whole game to get to Clinton or multi-ball. Making this drawing made that obvious. Also, right about now, Gary Stern came and played the game.
Right.
Yeah. So Gary came and played the game, and he got right off in one game we were both back there going, wow. He got Mayhem multi-ball and Doppelganger multi-ball and the Doppelganger and Carnage multi-ball all in one game. And then he left happy and didn't yell at us, which was really cool. But then Brian and I chatted afterwards, and we're like, well, it would be really cool. I think it was your idea. Yeah. It would be nice to have a low-level wizard mode that Gary could go for, right then, or a wizard mode that he was close to getting to keep him coming back because at his
he wouldn't get it
level,
every time.
Yeah, at his skill level, he just did something really, really cool that he's not going to do every time. Yeah. So that's when we invented the whole Toxin team up thing, and then added it to this list of stuff.
Which really, that skill level isn't that much different than ours.
No, no. I'm not trying to make Gary low.
Most people.
Gary's skill level is about the same as mine.
But Gary's a great gauge of the common person who plays pinball, and so he's great to have come in and play.
And he has very strong takes on what pinball should be. And he didn't yell at us. Did I tell you guys that?
But this drawing is a masterpiece. If you ever look deep into it, it is the whole game in one drawing, which is really cool.
I can explain it all if you want me to.
Yeah, no, let's go on. All right, so we're just about done now, right? We got the final game.
We have 14 minutes.
Yeah, we got the rules, and that's about as long as I think you'll take. So this is the final game. So that's the next step, right? We finished that last whitewood, and then everything goes into production mode, and we're ordering real parts with real images, real graphics. It's
scary at this point.
Yeah, it's really scary for Dwight too, because he's one of the last one who finishes, because software continues on, still continues on. You're still working on Venom.
Venom is still going.
So this is the final game. This was the first one that came together. This is the photo shoot happening in the background. You can see. This is the game that ends up on all the brochures and such. And the videos, and then we launch. And what was really cool about this game is we were able to launch at Comic-Con, which what's better place for Venom comic book character to launch than Comic-Con? So we brought 20-some games out to Comic-Con. We had some on the main show floor, and then we had a whole room of them too. And this is probably my favorite shot.
Yeah.
Because Dwight and I did Mandalorian previously.
It was the game. The game before Venom was Mandalorian.
Yeah, and he actually came and played Venom at Comic-Con, so that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Out of the wild, people are playing it. What are you working on programming-wise for this to be done?
So like today we're working on the features and the stuff that's going to come with the topper, the accessory to the game that hasn't been released yet.
Yeah. But there's always, like, we'll continue to tweak a game. A game
Yeah.
won't be completely done. We'll learn from the audience, from players,
Yeah, like
ourselves, balancing, right?
Score
so much
balance,
here.
and there's always like handfuls of speech that never made it into the game yet, and that we put into pockets. Speech is by far the hardest thing to do. Choreography in general is the hardest thing to do, and speech is the hardest part of choreography.
Is there ever like a hard cut?
When everyone has to start working on the next game. When,
Which doesn't quite happen because you're still working on it. But
right.
I mean, we're passionate about what we make too, so
Yeah.
we want it great too. So we'll put in the extra time to make things really cool too, just because we're fans too, and we
Yeah.
know people appreciate that. And then sometimes there'll be bugs, right? We'll fix bugs
Yep.
and along the way at any time and do releases. And sometimes there's system releases, features that we add to all games.
Yeah.
And we do releases to that. So that's what's kind of cool about Pinball. You buy one, but then we constantly update it over the next year
Because
or
we
two.
can. And
Yeah,
that's
with
very
new
different from
features.
back when we started, back in the 90s.
Yeah, we
there
could
would be
never.
maybe 1 or 2 updates, or zero.
There's zero because you had to actually send ROM
it
chips
was
out.
ROMs
Yeah.
that we send to everybody.
Yeah, so that allows us to do a lot more. But the games are bigger, and there's a lot more to do. I think this game has an incredible amount of depth to it from a player standpoint.
Right.
I find hard-pressed to get bored of it over time because there's so many different ways to play it. Which, hey, that's a great segue, Dwight. More ways to play Venom. This is the
wow.
bonus feature. You got like
All right,
11
I have
minutes.
11 minutes.
11 minutes, go.
All right, should I go over there, or should we just do it here?
Maybe it's probably easier just to do
Yeah,
it
let's
here.
do it here. Okay, so this is so Venom has many ways to play it. A lot of our games have many ways to play it, and Venom is even more. Right off the bat, there's you can use your save progress, you can pick up where you left off, or you don't. Both are fun ways to play the game. Keep going. Do you want me to do this?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, so a lot of people don't know it, and so I asked. So Brian and I, we're like on a Venom tour, right? Brian and I, we've done this a couple of times already, and I asked him to add this section to the end of our seminar because I'm wanting to promote the fact that we have this gameplay menu that you can walk up, and like right now, that action button right over there is flashing orange. Can you see it here? It's flashing. Green. It's flashing green because that's old code, I think. From here, it looks like it's orange, but it should be flashing orange if it was newer code. And you walk up and you hit it, and it instantly takes you to the gameplay menu. And Jerry goes,
Gameplay menu.
right. And
It's true.
it's true, and because it used to, that button, but not too long ago, that button on all of our games would start a game. And people didn't know about the gameplay menu. How many of you guys have used the gameplay menu? About a
bad.
third,
Yeah.
maybe a little, almost half.
That's good.
That's
Making
good.
progress.
Yeah, that's progress. So I'm finding that a lot of people don't know about the gameplay menu, and I'm wanting to put it more in your face. So I lobbied to move it to the button, and so now when you hit it, as soon as you hit it, you're going to get the gameplay menu, and then if you hit it again, the first thing you get was just a normal game. So worst case is you got to hit the button twice. But then where we go? Oh, the other thing that is in a game that you might not know about it is if you have, so the gameplay menu allows the people without the coin door, without the keys to the game, to have some amount of control over what the game can do. And we're going to go into those in a couple of minutes. But if you have the keys to the game, you can change the gameplay mode to one of different things. You can change it to all of the things I'm about to show you, and that's the very first adjustment in the feature adjustment area.
And default, they're all on, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, and default is just standard. Default is this.
Right. It allows you to choose all the games.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Right. So then you have standard. You have co-op, and co-op is it's different in every game, but it's basically all of the people playing are on the same, are against the game, and they're all progressing the game together, and all of their scores are shared. So like every time I get points, you get those points, and when you get points, I get those points. And minor achievements that I make you'll automatically be qualified for them, and vice versa. But the major things, like if I do some minor achievements and then make it to a wizard mode and then play that wizard mode, well, I'm not going to play it for you. That's the thing that we were working towards, so that when you start your next ball, you can now play that wizard mode too, because we reached there together. Impossible play. So impossible play is this cool thing that I invented, I don't know how many games ago, and I don't think I invented it, but it just came to me, or I made it work. But impossible play is a way for you to set the game to very hard, and you can't trap up. Like meaning, like there's going to be meters on the screen, and when you press in the button, the meter quickly goes down, and when it gets to the end, your flipper dies, and it stays dead until you let go of the button. And when you let go of the button, it charges back up again, and anytime it's charged, you can flip. And that's impossible play. And then we did that. I don't know what game was first for that.
Might have been Mando.
It might have been Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So we were on a stream with Mandalorian, and then as soon as we did that stream, a friend of ours called us up and said, you should make that just for the first player. And I'm like, oh my God, he's right. And that's Monster Play. So Monster Play is the first player, the dad, the enthusiast of the house, can be on very difficult, and he can't trap up, and the rest of his family are on normal play, and then the playfield's more level, right? We're leveling the playfield with the guy that knows about pinball and is good at it with the people that aren't, right? And that's what Monster Play is all about. It brings more people into the game and allows you to share your fun hobby with others, right?
Why is the dad the monster?
Well, that's
I've always wondered that. I never asked.
Yeah, that's a therapy lesson. That
We won't go into that.
I paid a lot of money to learn about that. And then we have team play. Team play, it was an idea that one of our distributors, reminded us. So Data East and Stern back in the day used to have team play, and I brought it back with 2v2, 3v1, and 2v1. And all it really does is it tracks. So let's say you have a 4-player game and you're playing 2v2. Players 1 and 3 are on a team. Players 2 and 4 are on a team, and it just adds the scores together for you so that you don't have to do the math in your head. Because some people drink beer while they play. It's not me, but. There's competition mode, which removes all randomness unless you practice for tournaments. And then there's prolonged competition mode, a new thing that I invented. And it basically it's this. So this mode is I'm gonna hit the button right now, and I will play a game. Where in competition mode, I have 5 minutes. I'm going to play a game in competition mode, meaning I'm going to practice for a tournament, right? In that one game, and it's going to eat a credit, and I'm going to play a game. What prolonged competition mode does, it doesn't eat a credit. All it does is it sets the game into competition mode until somebody changes the setting and/or you power cycle the game. And that means that, because a lot of tournaments happen in locations, and the tournament director wants to just come in, and he doesn't have the keys to the game, but he wants the game, it'd be nice if the game could be in competition mode. So he can just put it into competition mode, and it'll be in competition mode for the rest of the game. I mean, like for the rest of the evening until the games are power cycled at the end of the evening. Does that make sense? I think it's it sounds more complicated than it is.
But it's a great feature because there's so many tournaments that happen now.
Yeah, and that's a very popular thing. Yep. We have the DJ mixer. That's where Jerry gives me a version of every tune in the game, and I break it down into playlist of, like all and Brian's list and my.
We each had playlists in there. Yeah.
So check out the DJ mixer on any game, on any Stern game. DJ mixer is on any Stern game. You can go do it. Did you have a question? Some of them are standard, like DJ Mixer, and competition, but most of them are just on Dwight games. Yeah, so go buy all Dwight games.
Some of them will transition over, but
and then every game. So lately, every game now has. I don't want to say every. I don't think it's true. Mike Venicor's here. What game? So every game has a challenge mode, except for maybe 2 or 3. Yep. So
the new one's coming out.
All of that's something that every game, every man, all of us have. All of the design teams create a challenge mode for their game, and I say all, and I don't believe in absolutes, but it's close to all. So in Venom, there's 3 challenge modes where you can practice defeating null. You can do it at a high level, at a medium level, and at a low level where the difficulty's high. And that's all of the modes we got today. Back to Brian.
I think that's it then, Dwight.
We have questions.
We have questions. We have 3 minutes for questions.
In 11 seconds.
I have a request, actually, more than a question. but given that we're all friends in this room, and I'm sure you feel comfortable knowing that anything you say won't leave the room, the word on the street is that the topper for Venom is going to feature a Venomized Ghost Rider character. Please discuss.
I don't know anything.
I don't know anything about that.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry, man.
Right, exactly.
I can't confirm. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Anybody else?
Hello. You mentioned earlier that you created the grid towards the bottom of the playfield before you decided what you were going to do with it. Could you discuss how you settled on doing mini combos for lighting those nodes?
Oh yeah, we went back and forth on that one for a bit.
Yeah.
On how to get the lights.
Well, right. So can you? What's exactly is your question? Your question is, what are the rules for the mini combos, or?
No, it's why did you decide on mini combos to light those?
Two shots.
Because because we want it to be not wood chopping, right? We wanted it to be a mini mode, like just a couple of shots. A couple of shots gets you the light. A couple of shots gets you the light. A couple of shots gets you the light, and you're done. You got to do 3 of those, and then you light the sort of the boss, the minor boss, and so there was a fine line there between how different should each one be, and are people going to care about that? And I think no, and then. So I keep them all the same, so that you can quickly learn it and you go, oh, I get it. Because so even after you learn that it's a blue, yellow, and a white shot, they're going to move around on you. Remember that page I had with all the arrows? Yeah. That was they're going to move around on you. So even though they are all the same, they all are different because the playfield has physically changed on you. And
depending on the host that you've chosen.
Right, depending on the host that you've chosen. And
which it does make it interesting because there's certain hosts I like playing better than others because I can make the shots easier.
And that was some of and that was some of the balance I did was I chose the mini modes that were more difficult to put with like Flash because Flash, one of his strengths is he's really good at giving you playfield multipliers. So I wanted to counterbalance playfield multipliers with he's not good at multi-ball, he's not good at starting multi-ball, and he's not good at his mini modes. Does that answer your questions? I think.
Yeah, it does. That was super helpful.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
What's kind of interesting about the games? We talked about maybe doing a seminar on different ways of playing Venom, just because there are a lot of different strategies you can use depending on what character you like and what shot you go for. And
if we had another hour, hey, can we have another hour?
Can you just?
Well, it's funny you say.
We have 20 seconds. They're going to kick us out of here.
It's funny you say you play it based on shots. Somebody at Stern said they play it. Gwen because they like the music in Gwen. Anybody else choose a character just because you?
They were just telling you that.
Yeah.
we have one more question right here.
Okay, so concerning your design process, you said you did 3 Whitewoods, and there were pretty substantial changes between 2 and 3.
Right.
Do you feel like 3 is a sweet spot, or hypothetically, if there were a 4th, would there be significant changes again? Diminishing returns at some point.
Yeah, 3 is actually a good amount. Sometimes we only get 2.
Yeah.
So depending on where things are at.
And Brian and I have been doing this for a long time. We're pretty good at shooting from the hip.
Yeah. And feeling and understanding what's going to work.
Right.
So no real benefit if you were forced to do 6?
Probably not.
Similar.
I mean, there's one thing too that the whole pressure of getting a game done and finished, right? Because we'll noodle forever if you let us.
Right.
We'll just keep changing things forever.
Yeah. I think we're out of time. And can we do one more question, Cass?
One more question.
Can you come to the mic, please?
So you talk about the benefits of having an LCD screen. You talk about how complicated all the rules you have are that you can craft and all the thought that went into it. You ever wish that you could build a pinball table the way that a team builds like a console or PC game with the assumption that a player is going in and they can work on their one quote-unquote save file and can progress through everything that you've built as opposed to just, they're going to lose and then they're going to start from square one every time. You ever wish that, and wonder kind of what kind of pinball game you could create out of that?
Yeah, I mean, Venom is a very small chunk of that, right? Because it does save your progress and your XP and the strength of your character as you go. So that is a touch upon that. I think we have such a vast audience, right? We have beginner players who just walk up and hit the flippers and get the ball. They don't really know that there's rules and doing stuff. And we want fun things to happen for them, too. And then we have the whole other side, like you're saying, is the complexity and the strategy and saving all the stuff and remembering it. And we have to find a balance between all of those. So I don't know. Dwight loves complexity.
I do.
He loves strategies.
I do.
So we try to balance it so both sides get something.
Yeah, it's so two things have to happen in order for us to not go insane, right? You have to be able to, anybody has to be able to walk up to a game and they're not very good at pinball or knowledgeable at pinball, or they're very drunk, and they can just play and have fun and stumble into things, and they don't know what's going on and they don't know what they're missing, and that's okay. And the other thing that we need is the guy that's very, very savvy and wants to dive into all those details and get, and figure out, to the nth degree how to maximize every moment in the game, and that's very important too. So we strive, every single day to make all that happen.
Yeah, to answer your question, I think we have a broader skill set than video games, probably because we have people so early on who can barely keep the ball alive to people who can play for 45 minutes.
Yeah. And the truth is that we learned the other day, or months ago, is most people are not very good at pinball, right? Most people,
including us,
including a large swath of the tournament players, are not very good at pinball compared to the people who haven't played before, right? Like there's a little learning curve at the beginning of your career, your pinball career, and then once you're over that hurdle where you know how to not double flip and you know how to like maybe do a dead pass, stuff like that. As soon as you have a handful of small skills, you are in the group with most of the players in the world.
Yeah, I like it. The light goes on at I see people when they realize, wait, there's rules? You mean if I shoot this, then I'm supposed to shoot? Then the light bulb goes on, and it's great to see.
Getting people past that first door is a big part of our job, right? Getting them into the door so that then they realize everything I just said is true. That's with just a little bit of play and a little bit of practice, they're just as good as 80% of the other players out there.
Yep.
I think that's all the time we have.
I think that's it. Yep. But wait.
Oh wow.
Yep. I have a present for everybody. I have these little Venom giveaways.
Nice.
They kind of come together and they hold a little pinball on Venom's tongue so you can put it together. So for suffering through listening to Dwight, everybody gets a free one. Yep.
Thanks for coming, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Since this is Brian's first time at the show, when you walk in the door, you'll see like a little egg-shaped row of games. All of Brian's games that he designed, programmed, worked on are all in a row in there if you want to play some Brian Eddy games.
Yeah, come on up and grab the Venoms.